as I'll ever be.
So welcome to our Humans Discussions collection of talks where we chat with inspiring people all about humans, human brands, humans as consumers, and much more. You kind of get a common theme right over here. So my name is Kate Nightingale, and I'm a consumer psychologist and a founder of Human Experience Consultancy, working with retail, hospitality, and tech brands across brand strategy, customer experience, and innovation. And our mission is to create a better world by making brands more human. So today, I'm super excited that we are speaking with Graham Johnston, head of Omnichannel at Free UK. And kind of no surprise, the subject is Omnichannel and generally how it is affected by the pandemic. Welcome, Graham. Please introduce yourself to everyone.
Oh, thanks, Kate. Delighted to be here. Morning, everybody. Yeah, so Graham Johnston, I head up Omnichannel for Free UK, and yeah, I'll try and explain in short form what that role actually entails. But essentially, it's looking at how we best serve our customers, both commercially and from a support perspective across our different channels, and how we can adapt and innovate to make sure that they get the best possible experience across all of our different touch points as a brand. So I've been doing that particular role for about three and a half years, but prior to that my role was very much retail operations. I used to run the retail estate in the north of the country, so Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Northern England for Three, and then prior to that similar jobs, divisional director roles in Optical Express and other retail organisations prior to that.
Wow, that sounds like a very exciting career, and certainly you have a job that kind of demands you to be super knowledgeable about so many different subjects. And it's probably not the easiest one, right?
No, it's complex, but it's interesting. Every day has got a different challenge to it. Every day's got, you have to react very quickly, but it's exciting. It's very enjoyable. Yeah,
I can imagine. So every single time we do those talks, I'm always asking one single question to every speaker, and no surprise here is, how would you define a human brand?
Good question. How to define a human brand? Well, I think just as you describe a person, I think it's got to be a brand that's got to be authentic. I think it's got to have a purpose, and it's got to be something that's authentic to them, and not trying to be something that they're not. I think you can see straight through a brand that tries to be something that is actually not within them. And I think when we've done brand purpose exercises before, what's happened in the business is that our people have been interviewed, across the whole business to establish, what it is to be working for the organization, what their purpose and values are, which then is promoted as the brand purpose. And I think that's really important, that it's the people that make up the business that essentially enable the brand to become more human. So that would probably be in a sentence how I would describe that. But it's really, really important, I think, for brands to be human.
Kind of by people for people, basically.
Yeah, totally.
I like it. Thank you for that definition. So everyone knows, whoever knows me, that I love definitions, because I believe that everyone has a different definition for exactly the same word. So clearly you are an expert in omnichannel. So how would you define omnichannel, or whatever other kind of synonym words you want to use for it?
Yeah, I think so. It is funny, isn't it? Because there's so many different descriptions of the word omnichannel, and I think the truth of that is, and the reason why there's so many different descriptors is because it is different for every business. So for a telco, it's going to be very different than it would be for a beauty brand, for example, right? Because I think when certainly from my business, thinking about Three, omnichannel means it's the purchase journey, but it's also the in-life journey. So, people sign a contract with us for, could be a month, could be 12 months, could be 24 months. And during that period of time, it's not just about the journey experience and how customers will go and explore about what the product and service to buy and then ultimately end up purchasing. It's about when they do purchase, that part where they're with us for 12, 24, 18, or, you know, even multiple years. It's that in-life experience that makes sure that that customer will stay with us, upgrade with us, and refer friends and family. So for me, Omnichannel is about treating the customer, similar to the first question, treating the customer as an individual. And I think technology now allows us to be able to do that. So it is about taking a step back and not treating a customer as a channel. It's actually looking at what that customer's mission is, what they want to try and achieve, and then providing the most seamless way possible for that customer to interact. I think looking back to most businesses have kind of built up, anyone that's been around for many years has built up a set of channels, and those channels have certain reasons for existing. And I think now where we are, it's about the convergence of those channels. And I think the line is definitely blurred. It's been a phrase that's, I think, used regularly about the blurred lines between the different channels. But for me, it is making sure that every single time a customer wants to interact with a brand, it can be done so in a seamless way, regardless of where they're interacting, whether it's social media, whether it's in a physical retail store, whether it's in a contact center, online, in an app, wherever. It has to be seamless, and it has to allow the customer to achieve the mission they want to achieve.
Okay, I really love the definition. There's a couple of points over there that intrigued me. So
Sure.
One of them is that end of life thing. So that kind of leads me very nicely to sort of my next question around sort of typical customer journeys that you have seen pre-pandemic. But also you mentioned word seamless, and we always hearing that word seamless. Every conference, every article in retail, everywhere. But actually, is seamless fun? Is it exciting? Is it life? I'm like, come on. Is really anything that's worth in life seamless?
It's a really good point, right? Because you know, it is when a customer needs to achieve something quickly, then seamless is really important. I think it is vitally important. But and I'll go on to explain a couple of areas where creating a little bit of surprise and delight is where you really get the magic. So I think that's something that, you know, with personalization, we're going to go down a rabbit warren here. I hope you're happy with this, but we're going to go down a rabbit warren. So I've got, you know, this real belief that with computer learning, with personalization that's happening, it does take that kind of fun out of things. If we're focused on giving people what they want, learning from what they want, and then serving that up, what it takes away is that sort of amazing sort of surprise and delight moment where you see something you didn't think that you wanted, but you absolutely want it. And that's that whole thing of walking down the high street, right? Walking down, looking in the window, seeing something that you shocks you. Wow, that's amazing. And then heading in. You'd never imagined buying that item. You'd never imagined shopping in that store, but you go in. And I think that's where some of the principles around creating these moments of magic when you're having a customer journey is really important when looking at a channel strategy. So one of the channels that we introduced at 3 a couple of years ago tags into that, and that's 3 Live, and that's where we do one-to-many broadcasting on our website. And the whole idea of this is that I fundamentally believe, and I know you'll like this, Kate, given the name of your brand and what you're all about. I fundamentally believe that where you introduce a human into a conversation, you get a better result. Now, unless, of course, the customer doesn't want to speak to the human, right? Then it's not. But where somebody can get a great interaction from a human being, if you introduce that and allow the ability for somebody to talk to a human, you get a better result, whether that's service or whether that's sales. And then you look at marrying the 2 assets of 2 great channels together. So retail, you know, great human interaction. The people in retail stores, we've got amazing people in our stores that have been trained over the years on how to serve customers, how to understand their needs and be able to sort of marry up the complex world of telco with the right products and services for those customers. And then you've got online, where you've got high volumes of traffic, but obviously it's static and it's, you know, it's not the exciting experience that you get when you go into a retail store. So the concept is trying to interrupt that digital journey with a human at the right time. And 3Live does exactly that. It offers up the opportunity to have a conversation with one of our people about a product, about a service. And we broadcast on the hour, every hour, for half an hour, 7 days a week. Obviously not 24 hours a day, but 7 days a week during normal business hours. And it's a studio in Glasgow where we have a team of presenters at the moment. They're all presenting from home, by the way. They've all got studios in their house. But they present and they broadcast live, and they show products, they do live demos, and they bring the products and services to life. But it's interactive as well. So although it's one-to-many, those customers can type a question in and they can ask a question. The presenter sees it pop up on their screen. So it's private. So it's only the presenter and the person asking the question that sees it. But they can see that question, and then they can change the broadcast depending on what that question has been asked. So if multiple people are asking the same thing, they can sort of say, look, many of you are asking about, the screen on this particular phone. Let me explain a little bit more about that. So it can be about a specific product, or it can be about a proposition or a launch of something. So I think that's something we've done just to sort of address that particular question there around, is seamless fun and engaging? Actually, it's probably that surprise and delight. I think it is seamless in a way, but it also creates that little bit of surprise during that journey. Mm-hmm.
So what about this typical customer journey pre-pandemic? What have you seen? What was the sort of, social butterfly jumping across the channels? How did it kind of look like? And especially that you mentioned sort of the end of life journey, which majority of the retailers still forget that it's actually part of the customer journey.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. So I think during pre-pandemic, there's so many different journeys that we have in the business because of what I explained, right? There's so many different stages to the customer journey. But I think we've been around for 16 years. So over those years, we have built up channels and we built up business rules and we built up, okay, these types of things can only be done in a contact center, or these types of things can only be done online. And some things are because of some technical capabilities that have been built over the years that, we're in the process of transforming to ensure that everybody can do everything and one single view of the customer. But I guess we've been in transformation for the last few years, and we're about to, and I've started to deploy our new CRM, which gives us a really great single view of the customer and enables that seamless journey across those channels. But at the moment, pre-pandemic, what we were trying to do was exactly that, trying to bridge the gap between, where we are and where we are going to. And that's where we started with things like 3Live and 3Store Now, where, we've introduced our retail advisors to become web chat agents, and they can actually exchange messages with a customer from the shop floor. So when they're not actually physically dealing with a customer face to face, they can go online, be available, and support customers that are on the e-commerce site. And that has helped to join and to bridge the gap, because again, you're having your journey interrupted by one of our humans in a store that can support with that two-way communication, sending photos and videos and messages across to help a customer self-serve. But the other side is the support aspect. So the flip side of what I said earlier around, you introduce a human into a conversation and you get a better result, except if they don't want to speak to somebody. That element is normally where it's just quick, simple account maintenance, right? So creating a bill or making a change in your account, like changing your address details or something like that. There's not necessary to really speak to somebody to do that. They just want to self-serve themselves on an app. So the other element of it is trying to make as many of those journeys digital and self-serve as possible. So, but sometimes, if customers have done certain things for a certain way for so many years, changing the behavior of that is really difficult. So, calling the contact center to change your address, for example, because that's the way you've always done it, there's a certain amount of proactive communication that you need to do to customers that have been there for many years to say, actually, you can do this in the app now. So pre-pandemic, there was a lot of effort to try and make sure that we were developing those journeys so that customers could self-serve if that's what they wanted to do, and also try and communicate with them to let them know that you were doing that. But that's difficult when you've got 10 million customers and you're trying to, update them and use the digital platforms. But when the pandemic happened, obviously overnight, we lost our retail stores overnight, and we lost our contact centers, both our contact centers, which had over 4,000 people in them between India and the UK. So, immediately we had to rethink those journeys, and we had to rethink how customers were going to be interacting with us.
You actually mentioned a very interesting thing in terms of kind of retraining customers in a different journey that they want. So what should be that balance for a retailer between, between actually responding to the type of behaviors and the type of kind of journeys that the customer really kind of wants or feels that is comfortable for them, and what retailer kind of wants, or it's easier for them, or are they seeing that, let's say, other customers want. So what kind of should be that balance, and should we really be retraining a lot of the customers, or should a retailer kind of provide an array of different ways so that customer feels more in control of how they want to interact with the brand?
Definitely the latter. I think, if you try and create a journey and force customers down it, it's never going to end well. And, the beauty of omnichannel retailing or converged retailing, or however you want to describe it, is that you have multiple different options for a customer. And every customer's got a different way of wanting to do that. I might want to just do everything digital, but, my wife would prefer to speak to somebody to do that. It's very, very different, and you've got to cater for all customers. And that's really important. So certainly the way that I operate is that you build capabilities so that customers can choose how they want to interact. And I think that's where having that single view of the customer from a CRM perspective, and having those journeys available in all channels, means that the customer can actually make that choice. And it's really important that, because that's what helps to become and build a human brand. That's, as you talked about earlier, and I said, authenticity and personalization. That's the element of that, is allowing customers to be able to go and do what they want in those particular channels.
Yeah, I obviously completely agree with you, right? And you kind of know my view around that, especially that obviously we have a reduction in ability to control our basic daily decisions that we could have had normally. And, so that sense of control that, that we have over our life has become sort of jeopardized quite considerably. Therefore, we are going to be craving more of it in places that we feel we can, which majority of the times it's where we spend our money. So I would love to also ask you, therefore, obviously there's this lots of black and white predictions of, yep, people will be shopping online after that. Very much well my view on that, but what do you think would be the kind of online offline split, but not only in terms of where we actually spend the money, where we kind of complete the transaction, but that kind of, have you seen already sort of changes in terms of how differently we use online and offline, and not just because we were forced to do that with the closed stores, but because we actually decided to choose to do that because, let's say, we realized it was easier for us or nicer or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. So certainly the pandemic has kind of changed behavior because it's been necessary to change behavior. However, we have been on a path for quite some time of, customer journeys becoming more digital. However, I think it's really important, and I think brands need to stop thinking and analyzing last touch, because last touch is very, very short-sighted. And what tends to happen when you completely obsess around where a customer completed that transaction is that you miss everything that happened beforehand. So it's naive to think that just because someone completed online that the retail store had no impact on that decision for that customer to buy. I mean, it's actually, when you do take the time, and we have taken the time to review certain customer journeys and say, right, with the available data that we have, what journeys do customers take across our channels? And you can see that that last touch is just one tiny element of what's happened beforehand. So customers do already do their research in different channels based on their own desires and their own way of wanting to achieve that end result, especially if it's a considered purchase. If it's something that's, reasonably expensive, or you're going to spend a lot of time. So for us, they're spending 24 months and, buying an expensive handset. It's a considered purchase, and you're going to make sure that you're making the right decision. It's also a competitive market, so people want to go out there and make sure that they're making the right decision. So I think what I will certainly see as a trend is brands thinking far more about attribution of contact, which results in either a sale or a first contact resolution when it comes to support. Because if customers from a sales perspective want to, visit multiple channels in order to make a good decision, and brands are building confident purchases by offering these services, then that's got to work for the customer, and it's also got to work for the brand, because they're going to get a customer that's actually thought about it, they've done the research, they've made sure that the decision they're making is the right decision, therefore they're less likely to return it or whatever. From a support perspective, learning about if a customer tries to do something in a channel and it's not possible, they then visit another channel, maybe slightly annoyed, but they weren't able to achieve it in there. That's not a great customer experience. And it means that, that's not a great experience for the person that's supporting the customer in that channel or for the customer themselves. So really getting into the detail of understanding journeys that customers take, the effort that they make in order to either make the decision to buy or to get their support query resolved is going to be the trend that we see. I think online, offline, yes, there's an element of it, but it's more than that. It's absolutely about how those channels, the part they play in that journey is going to be where brands really should be investing their time and energy and focus.
So have you actually seen certain channels being, let's say, more effective recently in terms of building an awareness, or other channels more effective in terms of actually leading to sales later on, perhaps in a different channel or in that one? What has kind of been happening, and what do you believe will be happening over the next 6 months in terms of the importance of those channels, depending on the objective that the retailer has?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's topical, because we know that we're, depending on what minute you look at the news apps, whether we're going to go into a circuit breaker lockdown or whatever. So I think the next 6 months are going to be really, really important in terms of how brands look at their different channels. But certainly for me, what we've seen is that you'd expect during the lockdown period, online, sales and contacts for support went through the roof. The two channels that I've mentioned previously around 3 Live and 3 Store Now, they were able to support us with making sure that we were still providing that human service, even though we had no stores and no contact center contact center reopened after a week or so, once we were able to get everybody to be relocated and work from home in India and in Glasgow. But I think the two channels there, 3 Live and 3 Store Now, really came into their own, because we're able to allow people to work from home, support our customers with a human interaction, and they were able to do that from their house, supporting a customer in their own home as well. So trying to replicate that experience that customers were having in a physical retail store, but done digitally. The other aspect of it is we were able to really hone in on specific questions that people were asking on our site. So we invested in something called Answers, which is a product of a company called Yext, where you can see exactly what customers are searching for, and you can then spin up FAQ articles, content that supports the trend that you're seeing for what customers are asking for. So in the early days, for example, why can't I get in touch with your contact center was number one, because obviously it was shut. So what we did was, day one, we took 3 Live from being the sort of commercial one-to-many product demonstration broadcast channel and pivoted it to being purely customer information. So it was that had it on the contact us page, on every single page that a customer would go to find out what was going on. And then we just did broadcasts all day, every day. And it was literally about, okay, if you're looking for this, this is how to achieve it. This is, educating people on self-serve, reassuring people that, we would be reopening our channels as soon as we could, and here's what to do in the meantime. And it really meant that customers were able to sort of get information quickly. They were able to see a human. They were able to interact with that presenter to be able to find the information that they want. So for me, those channels will continue and are continuing to drive huge value for the business, both from a service, support, and also a commercial perspective, because we are able to still do live product launches, live product demos. And for those customers that either can't get into a physical retail store or don't want to, they can do that via those different mediums. So I think that's what we're going to see over the next few months, is brands sharpening up on that and how they can marry the two things together.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I love it. So you mentioned already one kind of interesting technological use of the product answers, that you call it, yeah? So, okay, we both like geeking out over cool solutions. So now go ahead and geek out over one that you think it's like the best one, or perhaps maybe the most useful one for, like, you know, over the next 6 months for any retailer.
Wow. I mean, it would be, so I think Answers is definitely, that's given us so much control and so much visibility. Probably not just from understanding what customers are searching for, but actually to be able to provide a really engaging digital solution. So that's been vital for us and will continue to be vital for us. The second is probably the combination of two. So it's our local pages for our stores, and Hero, which is the platform that engages directly with our customers, so that our people on our shop floor have all got the app, and when they're not with a customer, they just click Go Available. They go available, and it means they can chat directly with customers, and they can support them. So I think that element is going to be essential, has been essential for us during the pandemic, and it continues to grow and grow and grow. So from a business perspective, that's what I've been, to use your phrase, geeking out over. From my own personal perspective as well, and just like, I love video. I love, we're becoming more used to doing these types of talks, all online, and also trying to make it a bit, sometimes, trying to do a presentation. How many times have you heard, can you see my screen? I'm going to share my screen. Have you seen it? Hang on a second, let me redo it. And that's a big challenge. So something I heard about on a podcast was a product called And it is called and it's it's spelled MMHMM, and it's by the creator of Evernote. And essentially, I'm going to try and, if you would allow me to, I'm going to try and change my my camera to the camera. Can I do that, Kate? Is that all right? Can we try it and see if it works?
Yeah. Let me just give you the. Yeah.
Right here. Hold on a second. You'd have to let me share my screen, because actually it should allow me not to share my screen. So, basically, there we go. So here we go. I've got my own sort of background here. I can change my. I can change that. I can change my camera view. I can change the different rooms that I've got, so I can be in different places. I can change myself to a silhouette. I can, share my screen with it as well. So I can do like a demo of what's happening on the website when I'm searching for it. So you can bring things to life as you're actually presenting. So is still in beta at the moment, but it's been, a really cool way of, making presentations engaging and interesting. And that's one of the bits I've been geeking out, and I think it's an amazing piece of technology.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for responding this. I would also love you to share the information about your own podcast that you started very recently. Go on.
Oh, thank you, Kate. Well, listen, it's only amazing because I had some brilliant guests on my first episode. So it's called Think Omnichannel, and I was joined by Kate on my first episode, and Kathy McCabe from Proximity Insights. And so basically, it's going to be a podcast series. It's going to start off monthly. Hopefully, when we progress to a bit more regular than monthly, but I just finding the time, that's the challenge. But yes, it focuses on omnichannel, really, because there's not a podcast out there I could find that really did focus on omnichannel and how brands can make that transition and get top tips from thought leaders across different industries around how to engage and deliver omnichannel transformation. So I decided to make one myself. So episode 1 is on all good podcast sites at the moment. Think Omnichannel is what it's called. I'd love you to give it a listen. But thank you for coming on my first episode, Kate. It was amazing and very insightful. I've had some incredible feedback about the nuggets that you shared.
Oh, thank you very much. And I'm extremely grateful for all your amazing nuggets that you shared with us today. And for those of you who have missed this, we will be sharing it later this week on our website with the write-up, the voice recording, as well as the video recording on YouTube. So thanks a lot, Graham, again for coming over, and thank you everyone for joining, and have an amazing rest of the week. Take care.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks all.